This week, new DLC for Mario Kart 8. Amazon and Twitch become best buddies. DDoS attacks. Yay or nay? Also, why is everyone being such a dick to Anita Sarkeesian? And finally, Pixar releases news of its newest film. It's all this week on End User Input. Okay, welcome to End User Input. This week on your weekly podcast, we are covering a lot of really light stuff and a lot of really heavy stuff. So let's start with the light things, starting with Mario Kart 8's new DLC they've just announced, including content from Zelda, F-Zero, Animal Crossing, Wario's Woods. I mean, I think the thing I like most about this announcement is it's a whole ton of new material and new tracks and new characters, and if you buy it all at once, it's just $12, which really isn't bad, but what do you guys think?
Remember to breathe.
Shut your goddamn face. If I may
I'm
be
pretty happy about this just because.
Anyway,
Professional.
Yeah, I'm
It's whatever.
I'm
I'm happy to see this DLC though,
say,
just
shut
because
your
it's adding.
goddamn face. That's very professional to say that.
okay. Back on topic. I'm super excited about this because you can play as fucking Link and Dry Bowser.
Exactly.
That's just some awesome shit right
Dry
there.
Bowser? Really? I didn't read that part. Oh.
We'll have to put a picture up. That there will be
he's
pictures.
Badass.
Yeah, and like just the new carts and stuff. It all sounds so exciting, and I don't own a Wii U, but I have played the shit out of this game. I go to people's house just for this game. I love it.
It is kind of the ultimate party game.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it for Link as well, and because it's adding the F-Zero track, which I always like the F-Zero games and stuff, so adding the F-Zero track, I'm pretty excited about that.
And it's adding a bunch
I don't own a Wii U either yet, but I will soon.
Yeah. We're hoping to get that in September, October, somewhere in there.
Oh, what is it?
Coming May 2015, or the second pack rather, the Animal Crossing pack.
Oh, what's this? When's the Zelda pack?
The first of the two packs are available this November.
Yeah, so there you go. You can play as Link and F-Zero track. Woo!
Just in time for Thanksgiving.
By the way,
I give thanks to the Nintendo gods.
I was just looking at some of these screenshots, and I have to say, I remember years ago playing Gran Turismo 4 on like a PlayStation 2 and saying, wow, these graphics are awesome. And now I never thought I'd see graphics that surpass that being utilized for Mario Kart.
Oh,
But apparently...
Yeah.
I know. It's just funny.
Have you ever seen the what's it called? Luigi Death Face?
Oh, the Luigi Death Stare.
The Death Stare?
Yeah, Death Stare. Like, whenever you're
Who
Luigi
hasn't seen that at this point?
Like,
that was everywhere for months.
Like, I'm just explaining it to Justin because, he's out of the loop.
Thank you. Yeah, well...
Yeah, you're welcome.
You're just calling people out today.
I'm catty today. Meow. Oh, God, did I just do that?
Someone's going to take that audio bite, isolate it, and that's going to be like their ringtone or something.
I will do that. That will be my ringtone.
Okay, as I was saying, anytime Luigi throws like a red shell or whatever at someone, if it hits, he just has this icy cold like Hitman stare, just like
as he drives past you, he stares you down. It's the best thing.
It's awesome. Okay, moving on. This is amazing. Yay.
And I know that DLC's kind of gotten a bad rap in the past, but I think that has more to do with when a game doesn't seem like it's finished. In this case, it's genuinely kind of we weren't expecting this at all. It's genuinely just a pleasant surprise, which is very rare of DLC.
Well, it's like they already had all
DLC is nice when it's an extra thing, not when it's finishing the game that they didn't finish before it launched.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, there's a billion people more versed in the subject than me, but it does start to get bullshit when you have like 80 different game items that you can only get from pre-ordering at specific stores, and you're just like, well, I guess I'm not buying that game.
Yeah, the pre-order bonuses are also really annoying a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
For real. But I think that particular vein of DLC has been covered a million times over, and maybe we'll get into that rant one day, but...
Oh, trust me, if we keep doing this long enough, you won't have to worry.
Fun rants to come, oh boy. So tune in next week. Yeah, pleasant DLC stories. Anyone else have anything to contribute? No? Okay, well.
Nope, that was about everything.
Well, not without going into the aforementioned rant, but, so.
Okay, no rant today. Today we're going to just move right into our next story, which is Amazon's acquisition of Twitch for, what, $96 million?
976.
976.
Yeah,
I was off by a digit.
Yeah. That's a pretty big
it's estimated
Well,
that
like these guys said,
after
900, it was like 970 million is what these other guys are saying.
Yeah, it's estimated that after the closing and everything and all the different fees and stuff that are associated with it, the total cost will be about $1.1 billion.
That actually makes a lot of sense. It's actually almost dead on with what Google was in talks to offer. I mean, this seems like out of the blue to me, but come to find out, Google had been talking about acquiring Twitch since May, and the only reason they didn't is because they didn't want to get sued for antitrust issues since they already own YouTube.
Man, and you know what? It's like if you're Twitch, and you say, "Oh, Google's willing to offer us $1 billion." I mean, you don't go down from there,
That's true.
Yeah, definitely not.
So
You take as much as you can get from that.
yeah, for real.
How versed with Twitch are you, Jason?
I'm fairly versed with Twitch. I use it for a lot of stuff. Like I watch a lot of the MLG events, and I watch the RTX panels and stuff on there. And then there's a few people that stream on there almost daily that I watch occasionally. Haven't done my own streams yet, but might be looking into that in the future. But yeah, I watch a lot of content on Twitch.
Yeah. I just barely started because my little brother streams through there sometimes. But I watched the League of Legends semifinal the other night. That's some good shit.
Yeah, it's surprisingly entertaining to just hop on and see what's on.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see how it changes now that it's in Amazon's hands. If they're going to just leave it alone and say keep doing your thing, or if they're going to actively try and use it for something else or mold it to their specifications.
Yeah, I'm happy that Google didn't buy it. Normally I really like Google and a lot of the stuff they do, but I was a little nervous over their acquisition of Twitch. I'm not sure if Amazon's going to be much better, because Amazon, with their the way they have some of their stuff set up now, they really like their walled gardens where you have to be part of their ecosystem, and if you aren't, then you can't use any of their stuff. So I don't know how they could ever bring that type of thing into Twitch, but I'm a little iffy on that. But according to it was the CEO, I forget his name, of Twitch, when the purchase happened, they decided to go with Amazon's acquisition because Amazon believed in what Twitch was and their vision and everything. So he says that pretty much everything's going to stay the same. And if that's the case, then I'm actually going to be really happy about Amazon picking this up instead of somebody else.
Yeah. And the prevailing theory that I read about in one of the articles was that Amazon isn't buying it so much to own Twitch, but more to be able to use the Twitch infrastructure for non-video game related stuff.
You see, and one thing that I was thinking about when you were okay, so you have Amazon buying Twitch, and you say, okay, well, it would be nice if they could just use the existing infrastructure for what it already does best. And Jason, he's concerned about the whole walled garden approach, which to me, that every time a company does that, it pisses me off. I mean, it solves a lot of problems, compatibility problems. If everyone's using standardized stuff and you control all the standards within your little garden, everything's gonna work just peachy, and it's gonna just work. That's why Apple's stuff just works.
Apple,
quote unquote.
Yeah. Well, one thing is they could try and absorb it into the Amazon ecosystem, as you put it. But if they did that, they would probably... When you have a code base that starts out completely different, it started out with different developers and different standards, and you try and absorb that into an existing development group, and it'll just cause all sorts of... I don't think they could do that without screwing up enough stuff to cause people to not like Twitch anymore, you know? So, I mean, they probably will leave it alone for the most part.
Yeah. Or at least that's hope.
Well, that's, I don't know. I mean, what do I know anyway?
They'll leave them alone at least for now. They might slowly try to change it, but I don't know. Amazon usually is a pretty decent company, so I'm hopeful that they'll just kind of let Twitch be Twitch and leave it as it is.
They haven't done anything super evil yet, so
No,
we can hope.
Yes.
They've kind of stuck lawful neutral, where they have their code, but they're not quite evil.
Yeah, other than a mishap buying textbooks a couple years ago, I can't think of any major complaint I have against Amazon, so I'm hopeful for the future.
Well,
Fingers crossed, everyone.
Yeah.
for as large as they are and for as much power they have over, like, the entire economy, and like, you can buy your groceries through Amazon. You can buy live lobster through Amazon and get it delivered.
Still alive.
Yeah,
Is it like in a tank?
I remember looking that up because I didn't believe it either. I don't know, but that's what I remember. And for that much power they wield, they're surprisingly responsible with what they do. I mean, Google lost a lot of my respect back in like 2007, 2008, and ever since then I have started not liking them. But Amazon, on the whole, I wouldn't be disappointed with whatever they do. I mean, they seem to be okay.
Well, if they were to become our overlords, it's still better than Microsoft. So.
Well, I mean, Microsoft will be the marquee of the estate or something, because you need their hardware to get to Amazon with the... It made sense
for the
in my
most
head.
part, at least for now.
All right, well, on to movie news. So I think our first story is kind of something that's been floating around the rumor mill. This one comes from The Escapist, and it's that the rumor is that since Batman v Superman, I know we talked about it last week, but Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, they want to distinguish themselves from, other films like The Avengers and the Marvelverse. And so the idea is they're going to be a lot more serious. There's going to be, the two words surrounding this film are no jokes. So clearly they're not taking the Joss Whedon approach of, endearing characters and jokes in wildly inappropriate situations. What do we think?
I'm kind of happy about the no jokes rule, just because I do like to see like super serious like comic book superhero adaptations occasionally. I love the Marvel stuff, what they've done. I really like how they're a little bit more lighthearted. But with a lot of the DC characters and stuff like that, I think the no jokes rule could really pay off and be not just a comic book movie or not just an action movie, but really take it to another level of, instead of being just this very base entertainment, it could take it to a little bit higher level than that. I don't know if it will, but a serious tone is sometimes a really good thing to have, and I think with like I said, with the DC characters, I think it could create some really great movies.
At the risk of parroting, my opinion falls in the a serious tone I have no problem with, but just everything I've seen of the movie seems to be going a little bit towards grimdark rather than serious,
What do you mean, just putting extra darker elements in the story just to make it dark, just for just for the sake of being not Marvel's Avengers type stuff?
It just seems like we're dark, we're serious, we're and it's just it still feels to me like they're still kind of pulling the Frank Miller Batman, and I'm like, we're all kind of over that by now.
Well, okay, so I actually did catch the that latest Superman, right? And to be perfectly honest, I've never really liked Superman, but that show wasn't half bad. And it was, I think what got it for me is the characters, it was real for them. In that universe, it's hard to explain, because with the jokes and stuff like that, it's in the Avengers, you have these characters that the characters without the superpowers, you are larger than life. Just the characters themselves. It's like people don't really talk with such great wit all the time, you know, especially in situations.
Thing.
Well, I know, and it's honestly, it's beautiful. I love it. I love pretty much everything Joss Whedon's ever done that I've seen. I've loved, but it's just the idea that if you want something to not be that, I mean, the idea that it's serious and it's just the characters are more like real people in that sense, that they're not as polished and as perfect as these guys. I don't know. It's
Yeah, my only concern kind of goes along with that. It's when a movie says, no, this is going to be straight drama, we're going to take ourselves very seriously, we want you to take us seriously as well, because this is tragedy in its greatest form, or, you know, tragedy to triumph in its greatest form. If a film is going to be that balls out about it, there has to be a certain level of polish, a certain level of consideration. Because if at any point while you're watching the film something happens that's just a little too far on the side of melodrama, it'll yank you right out of the film, and suddenly you're like, oh, I can't take this seriously. Did he really just say that? I mean, it's you see it all the time. I mean, take Star Wars, episode 3, when it came time for Anakin to become Darth Vader, and then he's like, where's Padme? Oh, she's dead. And he goes, no! No one could take him seriously, because by that point you were so fed up with the film and its own self-aggrandizing, pathetic nature that you just couldn't get into it. If it had been a good film, he could have done that and it would have been fine. So it's a huge risk in my mind, and I would be very interested to see how it turns out, but it does kind of make me go, we'll see. But I'm sure that's colored by the fact that I've always been more of a Marvel person than a DC person.
My biggest tell is, like, if I hear one of these characters be called the Chosen One, I'm just like, nope, I'm done.
Well, they're all the Chosen One. I mean,
yeah. The guy's Superman. Yeah. He's freaking Superman.
Well, I know, but there's just a little bit too much of, you are the Chosen One.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about 2 Star Wars.
I had to sneak it in there somehow.
Oh, of course. Well, yeah. But, I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen an action movie of any kind that doesn't at least do some kind of look toward the camera and wink kind of thing, like just a tiny little joke or reference slipped in there. Maybe this is the way it needs to go. I mean...
See, that's what I was saying. I agree with that. It's because everything has kind of gone that way. It's like, oh, have these little witty jokes and these jabs here occasionally, which is awesome. Most of the movies that have that are pretty good, but occasionally it would be nice to have a darker, more serious tone with people who were, I wouldn't say actual people, because I mean, this is still a superhero movie, so they're still going to be a little too perfect, but have some other character flaws and stuff. Because I mean, Marvel could have done that, because in the comic books, to my knowledge, Iron Man, Tony Stark's main villain, is himself and his alcoholism. In the movies, not so much.
Not yet, anyway.
But I think it's going to be nice to see a little bit more seriousness, because we haven't really been seeing that for a while.
They already have my money, probably. I'm probably going to go see it, so...
Well, and...
Yeah, same here.
You know, the... one of the things with the characters being serious and stuff, like you mentioned the Star Wars films and like why that didn't work. And it's like, one thing is, as long as the characters themselves, during the course of the movie, a lot of the reason why those Star Wars didn't work is because it seemed like they would change, like the characters didn't have the motivation for the emotional responses they were giving at the time. It seemed like they were just says, okay, plot says, you know, it's like... when a director says, okay, you're a disgruntled worker and now you have to, you know, and it's like, you know, that kind of stuff, it feels like it's just been plugged in instead of like just one character that's just doing a thing. It feels like, okay, we're gonna take this piece here and plug it in here, and it just feels really just a really non-organic type thing, and then you just reject it on that sense.
I can definitely see that. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. In order for this to work, it's going to have to strike a balance between special effects looking extra shiny and a minimum of Hollywood producer sleaze, like you were kind of mentioning. So listen, kid, you need a little more. You need a little more oomph. You know what I'm saying? Where it's just it's not about the character themselves. It's what's gonna make the best shot. What's gonna be the biggest line delivery. It needs to be more about the love of the material and less about what's going to make the most money. And, that's something that's kind of plagued the filmmaking industry ever since they decided, we're going to make every goddamn book and every comic book and every single pre-existing property into a movie. So I think I would like to see this turn out really well, but given what I've seen from the DC verse so far, I have my doubts. I would really love it if it would turn out well, though.
Were those last Batman movies, were they officially sanctioned by, they couldn't have said Batman, I guess, without getting sued unless DC sanctioned.
Oh, well, yeah. As far as I understand it, they kind of exist in their own sphere.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
they're non-canon.
Yeah, non-canon. And you know what? It's like, I thought those were good. And this last Superman, I thought it was okay. I mean, Tayson, you know me. I'm not like the most, comic book superhero hooray type person, but it was entertaining, and it pulled me into a whole world. That's all you can ask.
Well, to be honest, I'm mostly talking about the Green Lantern.
Aw, he's still...
That's DC then?
Yeah.
That's DC.
Okay, I didn't see that, but I felt the disturbance in the force on the day it was when it was released. So.
Oh, that movie was a great big pile of glowing green shit.
Oh, that's so sad. Maybe they'll start over again with Jon Stewart, Green Lantern, and everything will be okay.
One has to wonder why they went back to Hal Jordan in the first place.
Who knows?
Because dude was a giant dick.
That's one of the reasons why I want to see the Batman Superman movie do well, is because I want to get a Justice League movie with the Jon Stewart Green Lantern and all the people that were in the animated Justice League show, because that show was awesome.
Oh my God,
and that's why I want these to do well, is because I want that Justice League movie.
Please keep speaking these words. You're speaking my language. That would be awesome with Hot Girl and Flash. Be great. Sorry.
I would love it. I wanted to do successful because I want to see the spin-off movies where they do the side characters that are more street level. Because those are always my favorite. In Justice League Unlimited, there's the I never remember her name, the magician girl.
Oh yeah, I don't remember the name either.
Yeah, it was her and Green Arrow, and and they were just being badass, but on this street level type way that isn't Superman, the world is going to die, and I'm like, this is fun. We need more of this.
Yeah, they're stopping crimes and stuff like that are big crimes, but they're not saving the world.
It's more relatable.
And those episodes were always awesome.
Yeah. They're not visiting different planets and that kind of stuff.
In that vein, I remember hearing just recently, it's actually been getting a little more promotion, but they have a series coming out called Gotham on one of the regular major networks. Mm-hmm. It's based in that same world. Gotham is in Batman Gotham, and it's got that one guy that, if anyone has ever seen Southland, it's got Officer Ben Sherman, the guy that played him in it. He's a very good
I know
actor.
what you're talking about, and it's about Commissioner Gordon before he's commissioner. Yeah.
So I don't know.
And Batman is merely a child. Also, I was talking about I forgot the name already. I just looked it up. Zatanna. That is her name.
Yeah, that was her name.
By the way, you said a guy that played, an actor that played the Green Lantern was named Jon Stewart.
No, not an actor. The actual character. The actual character was Jon Stewart.
Character's
Long
name.
before the Daily Show.
I'm sorry,
although that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, because earlier when he said,
funny.
they need to do it with Jon Stewart, and I'm like, I know they got Ryan Reynolds, but really?
God, can you imagine?
It's like he's kind of, well, I mean, for one thing, he's kind of getting a little up there for superhero age. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, okay, Superman doesn't age because he's freaking Superman, but, you know, Batman passes the mantle of Batman, supposedly, but at least as far as I know. What is Green Lantern? Does Green Lantern just get old, or does he granted immortality? Or
the ring is kind of a...
Okay.
It's kind of a cross between Superman and Batman.
Because I want to see an old superhero.
Yeah.
Like, you'd see him and like someone try and mug him, and he'd just totally kick their ass.
Well, if I remember right, Hal Jordan actually does say, I don't want to be Green Lantern anymore, and he passes it on.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't read enough Hal Jordan stuff to really say what happened to him. I guess I could look it up on Wikipedia if we want to go that far.
Nah, but my biggest experience with the Green Lantern is in Earth 2, where it's not Hal Jordan. It's actually a gay dude. Don't remember his name.
A gay dude.
Yeah. Well, that was, for better or worse, that was like his defining character trait for the first like 3 issues, which kind of sucked. But he got better. He did get better.
Social progress. It's slowly.
Calm down.
No, I was just kind of laughing that's like, oh, it's the gay one, you know? It's like, oh,
Well, when 90% of all of these characters in popular media are, it's like you don't have to say what their characteristics. They're usually like a certain, and then it's like, oh, the one gay guy. Okay, well then that's. And
I agree with you. It's not necessarily like a negative thing. I was just mocking him a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, it's well known that DC versus Marvel in terms of social progression is a little slower on the uptake. But we love them anyway, you know. So, good job. You did a
in
good
my
Green
defense,
Lantern.
I'm just really that terrible with names. It's not really that. Just that's how I remember it.
Sure it is. Okay.
Yeah, so, fuck you too.
Wait, and I have another question because you guys are more piped in than I am. Okay, so Batman versus Superman. For one thing, we all know who's winning that fight. Anyways, it shows a picture of Wonder Woman. I keep hearing about Wonder Woman. Okay, well, wait a minute. Why isn't it Batman versus Superman and Wonder Woman? I mean, is she a minor character in this, or is this like an origin story?
No one has any idea.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody really knows. I'm assuming she's a minor character.
Right. And random fact, classically in Batman versus Superman stories, Batman wins.
How? He's Superman. What does he do? Does he just make a suit of armor with like kryptonite?
Yes.
Pretty much, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
usually.
kind of cool. See, that's why I
Stuff like that.
Bruce Wayne.
See, that's the thing. He has this huge lexicon of all the superheroes and supervillains and what all their weaknesses are. The dude's
Just
a
in
fucking
case.
ninja. Like, he just...
But you see, that begs the question, what if Batman turns evil?
Well,
Because
then,
he can defeat
why-
all of them.
then his
That's
young
why the other
lord will
superheroes
kick
are
his
there.
ass.
Man, you know,
All the other superheroes together can possibly take Batman down if he goes evil.
It's checks and balance.
I want to see the world where they can't. I don't know why. I just want to see it.
Oh, someday.
when you were saying, oh, he has a ledger with all their weaknesses all scrolled down, it's like, I mean, at the risk of sort of a racist comment, it's not racist, but I said, man, the thought in my head, my nigga. You know, when you said that, I'm like,
Good for you, dude.
Hey, possible apologies about my audio. I think it started raining here, so you might be hearing that on my audio.
That's okay.
Man,
So that might be a thing.
editing room floor. Which it probably won't end up
Yeah.
on the editing room floor, but...
Plus, you're in a desert. It's going to stop in like 10 minutes anyway.
it's Utah. You say
Yeah,
that and
true.
it'll keep raining.
True.
That's true.
Okay, next topic.
Okay, well,
Segue.
first of all, we just have to give a shout out to Stephen Colbert and the Colbert Report for winning an Emmy because good for you.
I think you mean the Colbert Report?
Oh, the Colbert Report or whatever they announced it
According
as.
to Gwen Stefani.
Yeah.
I feel bad for her. She's probably catching
that
so much
was funny.
shit.
Yeah.
But seriously, even me, it's like I have a hard time to say the Colbert Report or the Colbert Report because he says it that way. I mean, if you have like,
Well, that's kind of the joke. Is,
Yeah.
That's
the joke, I know,
yeah.
but
That's
But no, like the part she screwed up on was Colbert, not...
Yeah.
So, Colbert.
I don't think she meant to be rude by it, like saying he was boring or anything. I think she just like stuttered or something while talking, or just like mixed the two words together.
Oh, for sure.
And it ended up like that, and it was really funny. But I don't think she meant to be mean.
I can
by
see
it.
myself doing something like that.
I have done that. It was quite embarrassing.
well, and I find it amazing the amount of mental energy devoted on like, okay, everyone says one word wrong occasionally in the course of a day, and yet nobody catches like a whole internet's worth of shit. I mean, that is a large shitstorm compared to one mispronounced word.
Mostly, I just love that Colbert himself took it with such good grace.
Yeah.
And was like, I'm going to put this in my show.
Yeah.
Definitely says a lot about the guy.
With who he is and what he does, I would have to expect him to do that, and I was glad to see it because he was just like, I can run with it. I'll make it a joke. It'll be funny.
And, like, it's just good to see people roll with anything nowadays because, like, everyone just like, oh, I fucking hate you because reasons. Well, I hate you back, bitch.
Well, I mean, Stephen Colbert in particular, you always hear about something where, you know, something happens or somebody tries to say something bad about him and he just turns it around and he's like, I'm gonna be the good guy. I'm gonna be awesome. And I'm not even gonna try and call attention to the fact that I'm an awesome person. I'm like Jesus. I'm an awesome human being and I don't have to say it because the internet will say how awesome I am for me.
You hear that, Jesus? Or Jesus, fuck.
Well, technically, isn't
how it
Jesus
worked
supposed to hear
back when Jesus was around? Was the internet said things about him?
Yeah.
Are you there, God? It's me, internet.
What I meant to say was, you hear that, internet? Colbert is Jesus.
Morgan Freeman is God. Wait a minute, isn't Jesus supposed to be God? Like, don't some people say?
Oh my God, Holy Trinity! It's Morgan Freeman, Stephen Colbert, and the Holy Spirit. Who's the Holy Spirit?
Nathan
I don't know.
Fillion.
I'm not with you on this one. I don't know where this is going.
You know,
Or Simon Pegg. One of the two.
Oh, I wouldn't do so.
the amount of grace that Stephen Colbert executes on a daily basis with stuff like this leveled at him. Like, I mean, this was just an accident, just something that happened. But what people will purposely try and, like, trip him up and do, just push him into a corner where, oh, watch, now he'll have to do something where he'll get bad publicity. And he just, it's like, just runs off his shoulders and he comes out smelling...
Wintry fresh?
Yeah, wintry fresh.
It's like the whole cancel Colbert thing that lasted all of 10 seconds.
Well, it's like...
Yeah, he's untouchable. He is an untouchable
He's a
human
little
being
Is
right now.
internet Jesus. He really is.
Well, and you know what? It's like, dude, I mean, he looks like a guy you just like to hang out with. Like you know, he's got his personality, his radio personality, but you know that behind that, there's only one type of person that could actually put up that kind of facade in the first place, and that type of person would be just the most awesome person to hang out with. I mean,
The kind everyone's like, I hate you, but I want to hang out with you.
Okay, well, are we done filleting Stephen Colbert?
Yeah. I think he's had enough for now.
Oh, you'll be back, Stephen. You'll be back. Okay, so...
we love you long time.
Next week,
Sorry, that was
entire
terribly
episode of
racist.
just filleting Stephen Colbert.
Okay, you were saying
love you,
something that wasn't
Steven.
racist or talking about giving a blowjob to Stephen Colbert. Good old games. Isn't that
Good old games.
Good old
that's-
games. Okay,
Okay, so...
diversion.
They've redone their website, goodoldgames.com, gog.com. Go visit them. They're awesome. They sell a lot of great things.
Not to be confused with God.com.
I don't know what that leads to.
Morgan Freeman's fan site.
Are you making that up?
Yes.
Okay.
I
All
had
right.
no
This
idea.
podcast has gone off the rails. We are off the rails.
Okay.
All right. So, goodoldgames.com. They redid their website. They're offering movies now.
Yay or nay?
Well, have you guys checked out the offering of movies that they have right now? Like, have you looked?
No, from everything I've read, it's all video game documentaries.
Well, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I heard.
literally everything is video game documentaries.
Well,
So, which is cool. Like, I didn't know there were that many, except for the ones that are on Netflix that have like 3.5 stars. It's
And the occasional one, like, Indie Game, the movie, which was really good, but...
yeah.
you know what? Their rating system on Netflix should be shot glasses. How many shots you need to take before it's enjoyable?
One
there you
shot
go.
is the best
Before it's
kind of movie.
entertaining.
Yeah.
Netflix kids can be juice boxes or something.
How much sugar do they need to intake before this is entertaining?
But yeah, I mean, they have video game documentaries. I mean, that obviously falls under their realm, but moving into movies, it's kind of vague. I mean, as far as what I've read about whether they're going into movies or movies only on the subject of games.
Here is my biggest hope, that they start doing movies and it's still DRM free, so that I can go buy fuck shit up, I'm a badass 27 and copy it to all of my stuff without needing proprietary software, because that is
see
bullshit.
that movie.
Well,
What I want to know is, so good old games, they kind of specialize in things that you don't play them anymore. You haven't thought about them in a while. You go to good old games, say, it's a nostalgia thing. You know, I love that game. I want to buy it. I want to play it again. So, and they kind of specialize in older stuff that the companies have kind of dissolved or changed or merged, or it's kind of abandonware is their thing.
oh, if they're listening, MechWarrior 2, get on it.
MechWarrior 2. All right. So what is there? I know there's really no such thing as abandonware in films. Are they going to move into older films and offer those DRM free, or are they going to stick with the indie film market and maybe kind of expand to creators, smaller studios who haven't been picked up, who are just, sort of like, Gamers, Darkness Rising kind of thing? Or have you guys seen that, The Gamers?
It's a good show. It's all on YouTube. So,
but essentially smaller studios that kind of need an outlet.
or
Are they going to expand more into that, or older films, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, they could just have a sister side, good old movies, GOM.
Yeah. I really don't think they should. Like, I think if they do go that realm, which there are a lot of old movies that are public domain by now, which I think that does happen. I don't know.
Not very often. I would imagine it wouldn't end up being public domain, because none of these games are that they're selling. They just pick up the rights from whoever owns it.
But I thought after the person who owned the rights died, there was a certain wait and see period. It was a long time. But
70 years.
yeah. So eventually it'll start happening.
So right now you still got most
you got
stuff.
silent films.
Yeah. So
Yeah, okay,
like
well.
it's like only
Yeah.
stuff before that copyright happened.
Okay, but if they do start going that route, I think you're right. I think they should not keep it under the same brand name. Like, it should be like a sister site or sister company. But, like, it could still be owned by the same one, but, like, make it a clearly defined department, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, make it an entirely different site or different like tab or something on their site, just so everything has its own area and you know what you're getting at each place you go.
I personally, I think it would be awesome if they did like a music site too, like good old music.
Good old music.
Just because
that'd be cool.
Just because like there's so many bands out there that are really good and old. Well, some not so old, but just that no one heard of at the time. I think it would be, and that's pretty much their niche for video games.
Well,
is that exactly?
They could even rebrand them the name of the whole company as goodoldstuff.com and then just have all these little because think about it. Since the invention of creative media, we never like stuff, old paintings and whatever, like you couldn't copy that and everything. But now we're getting to the point as a society with the internet especially where we're producing all of this wonderful artwork in all these different media, and we now have the ability to hold on to it and transfer it. And you can run into stuff that someone made 20, 30 years ago, and you experience it for the first time. Having someone like Good Old Games that focuses on keeping this, archiving this, and keeping it easily, so you can easily expose yourself to this old. I mean, it's kind of a heritage of the human race kind of thing. It's the spirit of it is just awesome. I really hope they keep
Oh yeah, I love all of this new archival stuff going on. Like, just everyone's like, no, we need to keep everything because it means something to someone.
Yeah.
Well, even just people saying, "Oh, I enjoyed this in my childhood. I can't wait to show it to my kids." It's interesting how much nostalgia plays a factor in even the way our future culture is going to be shaped.
Mm-hmm. Which is getting very interesting with like digital distribution, because like say, what if my PlayStation 3 dies 20 years down the road and I don't have another one with all the games on it? What do I do then?
Well, because it's just like all these original publishers, like you start a company to build a game, a studio or whatever, and you build a game, and all your efforts are towards returns on that investment. Well, once it's released and once you've started moving on to other things, it's like you lose focus on preserving that. You don't like, that's why, the old version isn't updated anymore, or the old, it's old games. I mean, you can't take something. I mean, that's why good old games exist. But it's interesting how they have to have a completely separate industry focused on this before it becomes a target that people can shoot at because now it's like they can charge money for it and everything, but the original companies couldn't do that because there's like this latency period between when they make it and when it's old enough to be worth
saving.
Yeah, to be worth saving.
Yeah, totally.
Sorry, rant.
Rant totally would. Your rants are interesting. It's like outside opinions, even though I've known you for what, nearly 10 years?
Yeah, my
And yet you're still an outsider. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, well, my brain's been outside.
That's all good. All right, well, it's time to move more into the heavy stuff. First thing is just covering these DDoS attacks that have been going around this last week and a half. I mean, it's all seems to be linked back to this one hacker group called Lizard Squad, but they've been going after pretty much all the major gaming hubs. I mean, PSN, Twitch, Battle.net, Xbox Live. They're just
I think
dicks.
they attacked Dota 2 and League of Legends as well.
Oh, yes.
They went after pretty much everybody.
Yeah, it's like it's one thing just to go after PlayStation or just after Xbox, because then you at least have a subset that's like, yeah, take that other side. But like,
yeah,
like the one people you don't want to go after right now is like League of Legends, because that will like universally piss off all gamers. I feel
for
like
the most part, yeah.
Well, all
I mean,
of
that
them
game
will.
is pretty well loved by most people.
Mm-hmm.
Even people that don't really play it, they're like, "Oh yeah, that game looks cool. I like the game. I just don't play it because I'm not good at it." Which is my situation. I don't play it because I'm not good at it.
I don't play it because I hate the game mechanic. I cannot have fun with it, even though I'm decent.
For those of us who haven't played League of Legends, give me a general genre it's in.
Multiplayer Diablo with more goals.
Well, it's more
Haven't played
Warcraft-y.
Diablo. Is it like a real-time strategy? Is it like a third person? What is it? Just real quick, man. Come on, I'm done.
No, like I don't even know how to explain
It's a top-down. Well, not top-down. It's anamorphic. Tower lane defense, in which you choose a character from a set that has specific abilities, specific kinds of magic, and you team up with other players, and you essentially try to play giant game of, take down the other team's towers.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. It's called a MOBA, which is a multiplayer online battle arena, which is also known as action real-time strategy, and it's basically what Dota was back in the day. They even have a Dota 2 game that came out, so that is basically what it is. And
Are you keeping up with the acronyms
large,
today?
You know what?
What?
You might as well have just said R2D2, man, for our Dota.
Okay.
Well, I think we're getting a little...
Let's not waste.
Yeah.
Let's not waste.
For all
That's
intents and purposes, everyone plays and or keeps up with League of Legends.
Okay.
It's one of the big ones that is played professionally.
Yeah, and I've heard of it, and I know that I just never actually been exposed to the game personally.
Well, that's why people get so pissed off. They want to watch it. They want to be part of it. And so you go after that one. You go after Battle.net. You go after, really any of these big hubs. You go after and take them down. Somebody's going to get pissed off. And there's really not a whole lot of rationale behind it, it seems.
Other than, I like pissing people off.
Well, if you're doing it for the lulz, okay, but then if you're going to do some sort of DDoS, mass attack for the lulz, okay, here's a question. Why choose those targets? I mean, I can't imagine that those would necessarily be easier than, say...
The reason
something
they
else?
chose
Like
those
a news
targets...
network or something.
Yeah.
The reason they chose those targets is to piss off the most people possible with their efforts. That's what they wanted. It's people being assholes on the internet, and they're like, oh, we're so awesome, we're so clever, we're so talented. It's like, no, DDoS attacks aren't hard. You're not awesome or clever either. One person, if they want to do a Google search, can figure out how to do a DDoS attack and take out pretty much anything for at least a small period of time. It's just people being assholes. Like I said, that's basically all it is.
Well, and I think it's also, the most people who have an online connection that are going to go online and bitch about it, which, very justified bitching, but there is going to be the most response because it seems like gamers, more than anyone else, are going to be the ones who are most connected online, who are going to, share their stories most of all. So, of course, it's not just to reach the most amount of people, but it's most amount of people who are going to be vocal about it.
Yeah.
So,
that way they can see the results of
it's
what they've done.
It seems like everybody...
Yeah.
Well, and and this article specifically that I looked at, like, they sort of delve into why, like, is there any way to prevent DDoS attacks, or in the future, is this just, I mean, really, from knowing what DDoS attacks entail, there really is no good way. Matter of fact, there really is no way to prevent them for sure. It's always going to be happening. I mean, it's essentially their servers consent to these requests because they have to answer. It's like a whole thousands of people knocking at your door, and the one person you expected at that hour gets lost in the noise. Yeah. And really, there's no way to stop that. And honestly, I mean, this is an example. I mean, every time it pops up in the news, it's always about a bunch of douchebags like this, just taking down stuff for no good reason, inconveniencing people. But at the same time, it can be used as a tool for free speech on the internet, and very effectively at that. I mean, there have been times when even political campaigns have suffered at this. News organizations, when they say something or do something
charity websites too.
Which
on the other end,
too.
Yeah, on the other end of that spectrum, like there's charity websites that get hit. So it's just like.
But the thing is I kind of frown on all the bad of it, but I kind of also frown on the idea that people's only exposure to it, the average person, they say, well, what's a DDoS? Oh, it's when douchebags do this. It's like, well, it's not always for a bad cause, but...
Yeah. Well, it can be a tool for good if there's genuinely something going on that needs to be prevented, but at the same time, where do you draw the line? At what point is it... okay, now you're just being unproductive. Now you're just making everyone else's lives difficult needlessly.
That's the thing with DDoSing, is it's a tool. It can be used for good or bad. You can use it for things. Attacking these services, in my opinion, would be an example of a bad use for it, because you didn't accomplish anything. You didn't stop anything bad from happening. You didn't really make a statement. You're just like, hey, we inconvenienced thousands of people for a couple of hours. But there can be good uses for it. So that's the problem, is like you said, there's no way to really stop it. There are different things that have been implemented to kind of reduce it and things like that, but in essence, it's basically just a bunch of garbage data being sent to somebody, and the server has to respond to it, and so it gets crippled with too much information. So you can't really stop that.
It's true. At that point, when it is information as opposed to, say, I don't know, paintballs or bullets, or at what point does it become an action as opposed to a way of speaking? Because it's interesting that you bring up the free speech aspect of it.
Well, see, and that's the thing. It's like we'd have to say, oh, well, it does no harm. Well, because like you said, the quick examples in everyday life, because all of our laws and all of our notions of what's morally right have, for generations, ever since before technology really took off, were based on physical things, physical actions, bullets, swords. Doing harm was very simple. Oh, is the person bleeding? Well, But nowadays, you have such a indirect cause like you said, information. It's like, well, think about what a DDoS is. All it is an application sending a request to establish a transmission to a server. That's all it's doing. It's just doing that a lot. And you say, how could that possibly cause problems? Well, and then you say, okay, well, you get enough of them and they drown out and stuff. And so it's like, then that person can't take advantage of a service they paid for. And it's like, it reminds me of in philosophy, pardon the use of the word, that they collective responsibility versus individual responsibility. You have, like, it's like the bystander effect when someone has a heart attack in the middle of a supermarket and everyone stands around because everyone keeps thinking the next person's going to do something. And then when the person dies, well, whose fault was it?
Right.
You know, so it's the same sort of thing. It's like you participate in a DDoS. Well, are you, like, legal action? Could you be prosecuted for the full extent of all the monetary losses for that site being down? Or what if it's a government website and maybe it was a emergency services type thing, and it's like some people do die? Well, it's like, are you responsible in full for that? Is every person? How do you even deal with that?
True. Even when a specific group claims responsibility, how do you find them? How do you determine who exactly was, the person who said, let's start this, let's do this attack? Who do you determine is the one who's at fault, even amongst a group,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, because there are ways to, like, trace, like, certain people through the internet. Like, you could find the person who runs the Twitter of that group and hold them responsible and stuff, which, would that really be fair? Did they actually do anything? I don't know. But in this particular case, if it said that they got a plane diverted, I think by calling it a bomb threat as well, the president of Sony's plane got diverted. So in this case, normally the FBI or whoever handles, like, these cyber crime, quote unquote, issues wouldn't really waste their time going after this group because they're just like, oh, they just took down some services. But they called in a bomb threat on a plane to get it diverted. That's a full-scale act of terrorism. So in this particular case, there might actually be some repercussions because they're going to be a bit more upset about what they've done. So people might actually be getting tracked down as part of this one.
Well, and, the people they do track down, because usually you can't get everybody. I mean, it's just, in my mind, it reminds me of why piracy penalties are so out of this world severe, because the people they do catch, they have to pretty much nail to the wall to make an example of it.
Kind of a scapegoat thing.
Yeah, I mean, you could find one of the instigators on Twitter who actually has something that can be linked to the crime, and, well, someone has to pay. Well, it might as well be the one we can catch. I don't know. Personally, whenever I see stuff like this, it's like the internet is like a completely alive animal. It's just weird how you'll just see this come together on its own, all these people. And even though they can choose to do good or they can choose to do evil, but it's like, yeah, there are a couple people that might have been instigators, but people do that. They try to do the whole viral phenomenon, like people actually have jobs as viral marketers where they try and start little self-perpetuating seeds of intent. And the fact that this happens and it attacks these people, I mean, you really wonder, is there and this sounds really, really pretentious and stuff, but can you imagine if it sort of sounds like a collective consciousness, and it's like, I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to stop right there. Sorry, I got way off topic.
No, you're all good.
I mean, it's a legitimate issue. I mean, at what point do we say, okay, you've done enough, we're taking your rights away, you are not adding to society, you are detracting, and so we're taking that from you. I mean, it kind of connects to our next little tidbit of story, is just the...
Speaking of assholes on the internet.
Yeah.
It just broke not too long ago.
Is this it? Yeah. Okay, hold on, I gotta get ready.
Oh, God.
Okay, Seth, go.
So, story broke not too long ago that feminist blogger Anita Sarkeesian has actually had to leave her home because of some pretty scary threats leveled against her on... She reported this on her Twitter. So, taking people's personal information and releasing it. making death threats against people and rape threats against people. We're not going to talk about what she says. We're not going to talk about her opinions. I don't think there's any disagreement that, she's allowed to post those opinions wherever she damn well pleases. Mm-hmm. Where do we draw the line when we say, okay, your criticisms against this person have crossed a line and now you're not allowed to talk anymore?
Yeah, just you don't take somebody's personal information, like their address being the big one, and post that online. You just don't do that. I don't care how much you dislike the person, how much you disagree with their opinions. You don't do that. That's wrong. If anybody who's listening to this is somebody who's done that, you're a horrible human being. You're absolutely a horrible human being.
Thank you.
And
Don't
all
do
the
that.
decent people in the listening right now are applauding Jason.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah.
The internet at large
Hopefully.
is, slinking away in shame,
Oh man,
Oh,
he's
you
talking
don't do
about
that.
us.
Okay.
Yeah, just death threats
seriously,
and rape threats and stuff like that. Really? Are you really? Is that really necessary? You're not accomplishing anything. You're being an asshole. Again,
you know what,
it
though?
doesn't matter how much you dislike the person, how much you don't agree with what they say, how much you think that what they say isn't true or is true or anything like that. You don't take it that far. That's ridiculous.
For sure. Well, and then and it comes to another level of this bullshit needs to stop, especially considering even if you were thinking those exact words in real life, if you were to say them, it's a prosecutable offense to threaten someone that way, and if anyone were to hear you, you're taken away, so you don't say them. What makes the internet besides anonymity a place where you can? It's no one deserves this kind of treatment. So
Well, the frustrating part is this kind of behavior is not new. And it's particularly not new in Anita Sarkeesian's case. I mean, she has been getting death threats and rape threats and just really horrible, just god-awful shit thrown at her ever since she started that Kickstarter campaign, and long beforehand, too. I mean, there is a lot of criticism that you could level at her opinions, and a lot of people do, but just the fact that we're willing to kind of realize that, she's been dealing with this constantly, but it's only when things take a certain turn that we say, okay, now we're willing to help you. I mean, what?
Yeah, I mean, because here's the thing. I'm not going to get too much into her stuff, but I personally don't really like Anita Sarkeesian. I don't like a lot of the stuff she says. I don't agree with it. Some of it I do, because some of it is true. And she definitely is right on the issue that there is sexism in video games. But I don't like her. I don't agree with her. You know what I do with that dislike and disagreement? Nothing. I just go, whatever. It's not for me. I don't make death threats. Because that's not something a normal human being does.
Well, I have to disagree there. That is exactly what normal human beings do. I mean, through empirical observations on the internet, that is what your average human being does, is makes death threats to random people on the internet for expressing opinions they don't like. Now, that in and of itself is not a problem. It's no.
Continue.
Okay. I'll explain why I think that.
I'll hear you out.
Okay, all right, thanks. On the internet, it's just everything gets drowned out, and what's normal in any situation in life changes relative to the environment you're in. And so, in regular life, people don't make death threats because chances are, if they're making death threats to you in person, they are likely to act on those death threats. But on the internet, because all these opinions can just be voiced everywhere, and you're exposed to all this stuff all the time, it's sort of the extremes of human emotion kind of get squashed a little. We don't take, it's just you hear about any famous people getting fan mail, and it's we'll get death threats or we'll get stalker mail and stuff, and they just don't worry about it because it becomes normal within that realm. Now, I'm not saying I'm not saying you should do it, but I'm saying it does happen, and that is in the definition of the word normal. But the idea that you should suddenly, for instance, if I took your Tayson, if I took your address and phone number and all your details and posted it on some random comment in some website or just anywhere, no one would give a shit. It's when you do that and attach a certain level of notoriety to it, that it kind of gets dangerous. You know, I mean, like Jason said, I mean, anyone that posts anyone's information on the web without their consent is kind of a douche anyway. But I'm just saying, don't do that. But at the same time, that we can't say that's not normal, because it is.
Well, I think the biggest thing is there's not a protocol for people who are receiving this kind of, well, I want to say criticism, but it's not really legitimate criticism. It's just shit being thrown at you. It's literally like you're walking down the street and somebody's throwing horse shit at you. There's no protocol for people to deal with that. And where it's a problem, where we've seen people just completely withdrawing from the web, I mean, with I forget his name, the creator of Fez, just completely pulling his own presence. Yeah. When we see people committing suicide after, months and months and months of, death threats and cyberbullying and all this bullshit being thrown at them, like Amanda Todd, you remember that from, how long ago was it? There's no way, there's no established way for us to say, okay, if this is happening to you, this is how you deal with it. There's, it's just something horrible that we kind of have to just say, it sucks that this is happening to you, but you got to keep going. Well, and that's all.
Well, on the brighter side of things, it's very dim, but it's slightly brighter. It sucks that it had to go this far for this to start happening, but people who don't think that's a good thing to be done are finally starting to talk about it. Like it's finally okay for people like us to get on the internet and say, hey, this is bullshit, don't do it. You know what I mean? Whereas that even a year or two ago was relatively taboo, because people would just tell you, no, shut up, it's the internet, it's gonna happen. So it's getting better, but it's too slowly, in my opinion. Well, it needs to get better much quicker.
And like what you were saying about a protocol to deal with it, really the protocol is, if it can be ignored, ignore it. I mean, I mean that in the way that's the problem is when you have someone that posts their information, they have taken away their ability to safely ignore that.
I can agree with that. I think it's just, where the internet is an avenue for you to make real human connection with people, via text, via video. When you're in a position where you can post your videos of your opinions online, and then you have a bunch of people who respond to it, and then you have the opportunity to take their comments and actually respond to them and, generate a conversation. When it comes to the point where you're receiving so much bullshit as in a ratio to the good comments that you can actually talk about, when it becomes to a point where you have to ignore everything because otherwise you are just gonna get super depressed and super scared and super feeling unsafe because of these comments you're receiving, I feel like you kind of lose the ability to connect with your viewers on some level. I mean, if it were television, sure, because you're not really talking to any one person in particular, or any one particular group of people. But on the internet, your fan base, your success has a huge amount to do with the ability to connect to your fan base.
Right.
And if you have to lose that, then I suspect you lose a lot of the joy you take in your job, because at that point you're just talking to a wall, pretty much. A wall of people, but a wall nevertheless.
Well, and you're right, on the internet, it's more like a cloud where you're just dealing with this cloud of human stuff. Just a whole bunch of human mind you're dealing with. And then every now and then there's a lightning strike where you're dealing with an individual person. Yeah. I don't know. And one thing that they, Facebook, actually, just one thing I wanted to mention, last thing I'll say about it,
sure,
is with Facebook, their idea to kind of help alleviate stuff like this is, if your history follows you around, you're less likely to be as caustic in some places because if it's going to follow you around forever,
it's like a reputation.
Yeah, exactly. When so that's one of the arguments against anonymity on the web, is that this kind of stuff can happen, is where people can just be as nasty as they want and then they can just go onto the next website and chat with their friends, and no one knows, you know. So I mean, is the good gained by the anonymity on the web really worth the occasional thing like this? So
It's
I
the question people have been asking for, 20 years?
And it's the biggest one we're going to get to on our podcast. Time for something...
Moral of the story is human beings are shitty, but not all of them. Just
Not
some
you,
of
audience.
them.
You're awesome.
No, we
But other
love
people.
you.
Pet.
Thanks for listening. You're so great.
Okay.
what do we got?
Let's skip right to Pixar, shall we?
No, I want to talk about... okay, let's go to Pixar.
Yeah, let's do.
Oh, good. So, Pixar has another new movie coming out next year. It's called
Fluffy.
Inside Out.
It's called Inside Out. This one is frankly adorable. We have our heroine, who is named Riley. She is 12 years old, and the story follows her and the personifications of her emotions as they deal with her getting older. Thoughts on this?
Mostly, I just love that her anger complex is Lewis Black, because I have literally in the past told people when I feel depressed, it literally feels like Lewis Black is screaming at me all day, and that's the way I feel. So I'm just like, yes, this is perfect. Thank you for doing this. Whoever was responsible for this casting, well done.
Yeah, that's great casting.
The only other name off the top of my head that I can see here is Joy being played by Amy Poehler. I think that fits. I mean, I don't think...
Perfect.
I don't think it is quite as perfect of a fit as Lewis Black as Anger, because it's like, she fits, but it's like, man, with Lewis Black, it's like, I don't think there's anyone else they could have picked that would have just hit that spot perfect.
Well, let's be honest, like...
That last nerve.
Yeah, the overarching story that they get to in this one is that her joy is fighting with her sadness to, like, be the dominant emotion of her angsty teenage years. And if they don't succeed in working together, I guess, fear takes over. And so it's like, if Lewis Black wins, she becomes an emo kid.
Oh, man. It's a very relatable story, I think, for anyone who's gone through their teen years and just thought, this fucking sucks. I mean...
So all those Linkin Park fans out there?
Hey.
The first two Linkin Park
No.
albums...
I am a Linkin Park fan. I'm just saying.
What were...
I know, I don't
Was.
what they were.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The first two albums. Great shit. We all loved it. We all cried.
But
No. There was just lots and lots of rage.
No, when I say we all, I mean everyone who's human, not you.
Oh,
I'm a dick today. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you've been a dick all day.
You know. Okay, that's not as bad. My brother sometimes refers to me as C-3PO, so that's not.
Oh,
That's better. That's better. What?
Does he think you're prissy?
No. It's just because. See, and that's my thought. I'm like, if you're gonna call me some like emotionless machine, don't use C-3PO. Use like the T-800 from Terminator. You know, something badass.
Well, back on topic.
Yeah, right.
I think this will be really great for raising awareness of mental illnesses like bipolar disorder and depression. Because if this film turns out like I'm hoping it will kind of personify that struggle a little better.
Well, it is by the same director as the one who directed Up. So at the very least, we're in for a good cry somewhere in there.
Oh, catharsis, yay.
Well, I think that's about it.
Well,
Yeah,
unless
I
you
think
wanna
we've
go
covered
over the-
everything that...
Nah, yeah. We'll go with that.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
it's been about an hour. All right, well,
And on an up note, ding!
yeah, so Pixar rules, internet drools, except for listeners. Love you guys. Okay. Yeah, so thanks for listening. Follow us at the links below, and we'll also be posting links to relevant content below, so go ahead and give those articles a read. Educate yourself. You won't regret it. Once again, this has been End User Input, and thanks for watching.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye. listening to this week's End User Input podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and favorite, and leave a comment below. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at the links provided below. Also follow the links to relevant content. See you next week!